Simon says subscribe and click on the bell icon to receive notifications.
We're going to talk about master slides. Because in my experience of training PowerPoint for 20 plus years, master slides seems to be one of those things that people are a little bit wary of. They're not sure what they are, how they work, and how they can be useful. So in this first lesson, I really just want to explain to you what master slides are, and then I'm going to show you some different ways that you can modify your master slides to take all of the hard work out of building a presentation. Now, for this example, I've decided to demonstrate this on a brand new presentation that doesn't have anything in it. So I've just created a new blank presentation. I currently have one slide, and if we take a look at the layout that's applied to this slide, it's just a title slide. Now I'm just very quickly going to add a quick title. We'll just call this My Presentation, and then let's add a subtitle like so. Now I'm going to add a few more slides to this presentation of differing layouts. So let's just add a to content slide. Let's add a title only slide. And let's also add a couple of blank slides as well. I'm going to give this a title of, let's just say slide 2. And we'll add a bit of text in here. Heading 1. Heading 2. Heading 3. And let's add a quick image over here just to get some things into these slides, which is going to make it a little bit easier to demonstrate. So I'm just adding any image in here. Let's go to the next one. We'll just call this About Us. And then the next two are just blank layouts. Now, what exactly are master slides? Well, master slides control the overall look and feel of your presentation. So for example, if you have a presentation that has 50 slides in it, and those slides might contain text, different colors, maybe you have your company logo on every single slide. What happens when you want to update any of those elements? What if I want to change the font on all of my slides from Calibri to Times New Roman? Well, it would be pretty tedious to jump onto each slide, select the text box, and then manually change the font. It's also quite tedious to copy and paste a company logo across all of my slides, and then have to redo that again if the company logo changes. What about if I have certain colors applied to my slide and I need to change those? Again, I'd have to go to every slide and change the colors manually. Now, what a slide master can do is allow you to make updates to the overall look and feel of your slide deck in a much simpler way. So let's take a look at the slide master. Now you'll find your slide master on the View tab. In the Master Views group, the first button here is Slide Master. And if we take a look at that screen tip, it says Master Slides control the look of your entire presentation, including colors, fonts, backgrounds, effects, and just about everything else. So if we jump into the Slide Master, this is where people tend to get confused because in the Slides pane, we have all of these different slides. Now, the first slide that you see here at the top is what we call the master title slide. Now, any changes that you make to this master title slide will be applied to all slides in your presentation. So if I was to change the background color here, it's going to apply to all slides. The slides that you see kind of hanging off of this one underneath, you're going to find a slide for each layout available in PowerPoint. So this one is your title slide. This one is your title and content layout, so on and so forth. And you'll see as we scroll down, this one is the blank slide, and it carries on going. So all these are all of the different layouts available in PowerPoint. And this top one is kind of like the master of all of these templates. So effectively what we can do is if we want to make a universal change to our entire presentation, such as changing the background color, I could edit this master slide. But if I only wanted to change the background color whenever I add a new blank slide layout, I can simply come down here and change it on the blank slide only. So that is kind of how your master slides work. In this lesson, we're going to quickly take a look at how you can insert audio files into your presentation. And audio files are different from video files in that they don't give our users anything to look at. It's purely something for them to listen to. So maybe you have a section of a podcast that you've recorded that you want to include in your presentation. Or maybe you have a message that you want to include. For example, I might want to include a welcome message for this presentation. Because sometimes it's really nice for your customers or people who are watching this presentation to hear your voice, particularly if you've sent this to them via email. It adds a bit of personality and helps build a connection. And it's really simple in PowerPoint to insert any audio file. Now, it might be that you have an audio file already saved off to your PC. Maybe it's a company audio file. And if that's the case, you can insert the audio file from your local drives, much the same way that you would insert a video that you've got stored off locally, or even a picture. If we jump up to the Insert ribbon, you'll notice all the way over in the Media group, we have a drop-down for Audio. And if I choose Audio on my PC, as you would expect, it's going to pop open File Explorer, and we can then go through and simply select our audio file. The other option is you can record audio on the fly to include in your presentation. And that's what we're going to do here. Now, I'm going to add this to the very first slide in our presentation. So let's scroll all the way back up to the top. And I'm going to add a welcome message to this first slide. So let's jump up to Audio and let's go into Record Audio. And what you'll get here is a little recorder window. So the first thing we need to do is just give our recording a name. So I'm going to call this Welcome Message. And then notice underneath we have a little record button. So as soon as you click that, it's going to record everything that you say. So let's click it and record a quick welcome message. Hello everybody and welcome to Secret Adventures, tailor-made trips for adventurous souls. We hope you enjoyed this marketing presentation, which really showcases everything that Secret Adventures has to offer. So I've recorded my message, I've clicked on stop, I can play it back, or I can simply click on OK to insert that audio file. And notice we get this little icon come up, which we can place underneath. And all the user needs to do is simply click on play. Hello everybody and welcome to Secret Adventures, tailor-made trips for adventurous souls. So audio files can work really well and add a nice little touch of personalization to your presentations. Also be aware that if we click on the audio file, notice that we get two contextual ribbons, audio format and playback. So if we go to audio format, we have very similar options to when we're clicked on a picture. I could even choose to change the picture that I'm using. So instead of this little audio icon, I could replace it with a completely different icon. So let's go for audio and see what we get. I'll just do this to show you a little musical note. Let's insert, and there we go. So it's entirely up to you how you choose to edit this. Also notice on the playback ribbon, we have other options that we can utilize. So once again, I can specify if I want this audio clip to start playing automatically when the slide loads, or if I want it to play when it's clicked on. Now, in this example, I only want it to play when the user clicks on it. I can choose to play it across slides or even play it in the background of every single slide. I can loop it around until I choose to stop, or I can rewind after playing. I even have similar options for trimming my audio. So if I click on this option, if I want to trim a little bit of space off of the beginning, I can drag that in. I also might want to trim the dead space at the end. Click on OK just to trim that file. It's time now to take a look at how we can insert video into our PowerPoint presentations. And this might be a video that you have downloaded off to your PC, maybe it's some kind of corporate video, or you can insert a video from the stock video library within PowerPoint. So let's take a look at both of these options. Now for this, we're going to insert another new blank slide, and we're going to jump up to the insert ribbon. Now notice all the way over in the media group, we have an option to insert video files. And we can insert them from this device. We can select a video from the stock videos library, or we can search for a video online. Remember, the same rules apply to videos as they do to images. If you're going to download an online video, make sure that the copyright allows you to do that and that you have the relevant permission for how you want to use this video. Now first, let's insert a video from this device. So this is a video that I've downloaded again from the Pexels website. And you might have another corporate video that you want to use in your presentation. So let's go to this device. Let's navigate to where we have it saved off. There it is. We can select it and click on Insert. So now my video is inserted into my slide. Notice at the bottom I have a little play icon, so I can click on play or press the keyboard shortcut Alt-P to see this video in action. Also notice that when we clicked on the video, we get our contextual ribbons, video format and playback. So this is where we can go in and start customizing the look and feel of our video and how it behaves. So in the first group, we just have a play button. We've already seen how that works. The second group is very similar to when we're dealing with pictures. If we need to make any color corrections to this video, maybe we want to make it brighter or even darker, we can do that. We can recolor our videos, so maybe to match a specific color scheme, these can look quite good. In fact, I think I'm going to select green for my video. We can add frames and we can also reset our design if we want to just take it back to how it was originally. We also have a video styles gallery, and this can look really nice in some scenarios. So if we hover over this first one, you can see that subtle effect is that very thin white border around the outside. I could go for a thicker border, a black border, so on and so forth. I could even use this to kind of change the shape of the video. So now you can see we kind of have a little curvy corner just there. So if I was to select this, I can then drag this in to make it smaller and reposition it on my slide. And this is a really effective way of displaying a video in a window effectively. So lots of different video styles that you can use. We also have video shape, so if you want to fit it into a triangle, for example, you can do that. And again, sometimes this can look really nice, sort of down at the bottom with some text on the slide. Now I'm going to undo and take it back to how it was. We can add a video border, so we can change the color of the current border, so I might want to make that dark green. And then of course we have our video effects, so we can add things like shadows or a reflection or a glow around the outside. So let's take a look at reflection. I'm going to add that one and move it into position. Now the other tab of interest here is the playback tab, because this is how we can control how this video plays to our customers. Now let's preview this by running the slideshow to see how it currently looks. So you can see when I move to this slide, the video doesn't start playing until I click my mouse. Now it might be that I'm happy with it that way, or it might be that I want this video to start automatically when the slide loads. So it's things like this that we can customize on that playback ribbon. So let's come out of here by clicking on Escape and take a look at some of our options. Now if we go to video options in the middle here, this start area, this is where we can customize that option. So currently it's set to in-click sequence. But if I click the drop down, I can change that to automatically. And when we play the slideshow, you can see that video automatically starts without me having to click my mouse. So that's exactly what I was looking for. We can choose to play it in full screen. So if I select this and then play the video again, I'm going to get a full screen version of that instead. Then when I hit escape, it's going to pop me back out to the smaller version of the video. If your video has sound, you can control the volume just here, or you can mute it altogether. And this option here is a very important one, loop until stopped. Now, this video isn't particularly long. I think this is roughly, it's about 20 seconds long. So if I get to 20 seconds, it's just going to stop playing unless I click on loop until stopped. So now it doesn't matter how long I'm talking for. If I go past 20 seconds, it's just going to loop back round and carry on playing. So if you kind of want this playing in the background when you're talking about a few different points, this is a good option to use. So you can see here it's coming up to 20 seconds and we should find that it's going to loop back round again, which it does. If we move across to the editing group, notice we have fade duration settings. So if we want the video to fade in and fade out, we can adjust that here as well. And a really important option here is trim video. So maybe if you have in your video something right at the beginning that you don't want to actually play in the slide, you could choose to trim the end or trim the beginning. So if we click on trim video, you're going to get this little window come up and we can use these little sliders to specify where we want the video to start. So maybe I don't want this to start until, let's say, I'm going to go for 3 seconds. And I could even trim the end as well. Let's bring that all the way down. Let's click on OK. It's now trimmed that video. And when we click on the slideshow, we should find that we have a much shorter video because we trimmed quite a few seconds off of it. So lots of different options there when it comes to editing, not only the look and feel of your video in your slide, but also how it plays.
In this video, I will show you 3 ways to insert a GIF in PowerPoint. Open PowerPoint and create a new slide. If you don't want the title and subtitle, delete them by clicking on them and pressing the delete key. To insert a GIF, navigate to Insert. Under the Images section, click on the drop-down from Pictures. This shows you 3 ways you can insert GIFs into PowerPoint slides. Select this device option. Clicking on this device opens a new dialog box. Navigate to the storage path or location where the GIF is located and select it. Click Open. This inserts the GIF in the center of the slide. Once you have added the GIF, you can use the slideshow option to preview the GIF. Another way to add GIFs in PowerPoint is by using stock images. Clicking on stock images from the picture dropdown opens up a new dialog box. Navigate to Videos and select the GIF you want to add to the slide. You can also use the search bar by typing any keyword and searching for the GIFs. Also, you can add GIFs by using the Online Pictures option. The search is powered by Bing search engine and it shows you suggestions based on your keyword. Select the GIF you want to add to the PowerPoint and click on Insert. After you add a GIF in PowerPoint, you can easily customize the GIF to your preferences. To move the GIF, click on it. The area around the GIF gets highlighted. Place your mouse pointer and drag the GIF to its desired place. If you want to resize it, you can use the anchor points to change the size of the GIF. If you want further customization, you can click on the GIF and go to Picture Format and add additional customizations to the GIF.
Now, if we jump back up to the Insert ribbon, in the Links group, we have Actions, Links, and Zoom. So we know what Actions does. We've seen an example of Slide Zoom. The final option in here is Link. And this is very much like your traditional hyperlinking. So if you've used hyperlinks in Word previously, it pretty much works the same in PowerPoint. And you can see here there is a keyboard shortcut for adding a hyperlink quickly of Control-K. So let's take a look at an example of a hyperlink. Now there are a few different types of hyperlink that you can add. You could add a hyperlink to another slide in the presentation. You could hyperlink to another presentation entirely. You could hyperlink to an external website, or you could even hyperlink to an email address. Now currently the link button is inactive because I don't have anything selected. As soon as I select something, whether it's a piece of text or an image or an icon, you're going to see that this button becomes active. Now, I currently have the word Thailand selected. If I click on link, we can see all of the different things that we can hyperlink to. So I could choose to link to an existing file or web page. And this will allow you to link to a file that you have stored off on your C drive or somewhere like that. And you can see here in the menu, this is the last folder I was in, and it's showing me all of the PowerPoint presentations and images within this folder. So I could choose to link to any of these. If I want to link to another slide, I can choose Place in this document, and it's going to show me all of the different slides, and I can insert a link that way. Or alternatively, I could link to an email address in here. And that means that when they click on this link, it's going to open up an email in your default email application addressed to whoever you've specified in here with the specified subject line. We can also link to external websites from here as well. So you'll find this on existing file or web page. You can simply type in the web address just here. So if I wanted to link to, and for argument's sake, I'm just going to link to Google. Let's go www.google.com. Obviously, you can type anything you like into here. Click on OK. And now Thailand is showing as a hyperlink. And if I want to go to Google, I can simply hold down Control and click, and it's going to open up a web browser. Now, if I select Thailand again and right-click my mouse, I can edit that link. It's going to take me straight back into that Edit Hyperlink dialog box, and I can make any changes that I need to. One thing that's quite useful to add when you're working with things like web pages is a screen tip. Now, notice in the top right-hand corner, we have a little button. Let's click it. And you can provide text which is going to appear as the user or your customer hovers over this hyperlink. So I might want to say, click to go to Google, something like that. Click on OK and OK again. And when we hover over, you can see that comes up in that little screen tip area. So just be aware of that. Now, I don't want this to link to Google. Let's right click and choose to remove the link. Now, something that I might want to add onto here is maybe an icon which they can click on, which is going to link them back to the Our Destinations page. So let's insert an icon, and I'm going to type in the keyword. Let's just say travel, and I'm just going to choose this one here of these palm trees. Let's insert that. I'm going to drag it down to the corner, and I could now make this a link which takes us back to the Our Destinations slide. So all we need to do here is click on the icon. We can right click and go to hyperlink, or alternatively we can jump up to insert and go into link. So now I could say place in this document, and I can choose the slide I want to link to. So if I want to go back to Our Destinations, that is slide number 8, I can add a screen tip, Destinations. Click on OK. So now if I run this presentation, notice that when I hover my mouse over this icon, I get the screen tip. My cursor's also changed to a hand icon, which shows me that this is a link. And when I click it, it's going to jump me to that slide. So a really nice, easy way to jump around your presentation. What about if instead of linking to another slide or a website, I want to link to a document? So maybe I want to link to a PDF file that contains all of the itineraries for the Asia region. Well, this is pretty straightforward as well. Now I'm going to delete out this icon. I don't really want that to be there. And I'm going to add a shape. And let's just add a rounded rectangle. I'm going to draw it down here. And I'm going to add some text which just says itineraries. Let's drag this down to the corner, and let's just do a little bit of formatting here. I want to do a shape fill. Let's use our eyedropper and pick up this green color, and let's add a shape outline of a dark green. So now I have this shape. I'm going to select it. Let's go to Insert, and we're going to add a hyperlink, but this time we're going to choose to hyperlink to a PDF file. So all you would need to do here is navigate to the folder where you have your PDF file stored. And you've got a little Browse for File button just here, which will open up File Explorer, and you can search for your document from there. Now I know mine is in section 8, Course Files. There it is, itinerary.pdf. Let's add a screen tip and click on OK and OK again. So now if we run this slideshow and click on itineraries, it's going to open the PDF file that I created. And the final thing that you can hyperlink to is an email address. So maybe in amongst this text, I want it to say contact. I'm just going to put my name in there for more details. And I want to make my name a link. So we're going to select the text up to link, and this time we're going to go for email address. So just type in the email address of the person you want this to go to. And if you want to have a default subject, then you can add that in here as well. So maybe my default subject is inquiry. I can add a screen tip, click to send email, click on OK, and OK again. And that now becomes a link. So if we run the slideshow this time and click on my name, it's going to open up an email in my default email application with the criteria that I've specified. So it's going to me, and the subject line is inquiry. So that is how you can use hyperlinks in your PowerPoint presentations.
In this video, I will show you how to make a flowchart in PowerPoint. Flowcharts are a very crucial piece of representation that helps connect information. They help split your information into smaller steps and collectively portray a whole picture. Mainly, they help to provide connecting links for chronological processes. In this video, I will show you how to make a flowchart in PowerPoint in 2 easy ways. Let's get right into it. First, this option offers you a template to build your flowchart presentation. All you have to do is select a template and customize it. To create a flowchart using the Smart Art option, open PowerPoint. Go to Insert under Illustrations and click on Smart Art. This opens up a new dialog box asking you to choose a Smart Art graphic. Once you select the flowchart, the description of the layout appears to the right of the dialog box. Click OK. This adds the selected template to the slide. Now, you can change the text of the flowchart and customize it based on your preferences. To move any flowchart element, just click on them and drag the elements to move them manually. If you want to add any text to the flowchart, click on the Add Text button. The text bar shows the cursor where you can add the text as per your preferences. The Smart Art Design option offers a series of customization options from layout, graphics, and styles. The Format menu also has similar options to the Smart Art Design menu. You can customize the shapes, change word art styles, and arrange them on the slide. Now we know how to create a flowchart using Smart Art graphics. Let us see how to create a flowchart manually. In some cases, you might not be able to find the template that might suit your needs. In such instances, you can create the flowchart manually. And like the Smart Chart option, you can also customize the elements according to your preferences. To create your flowchart from scratch, first, delete the Click to Add Title and Click to Add Text in the slide. Press the Escape key, and now click Delete. Do the same for another field. You can add grid lines to help you align your shapes and lines. Right-click on the slide and select Grid and Guides. This opens up a dialog box. Enter the grid spacing as per your preference and check Display Grid on Screen. Click OK. Navigate to Home. Under Drawing, choose the shape you want to add to the flowchart. Select the preferred shape. Then drag and draw the shape in the slide with the grid line as reference. To add text, go to Shape Format. Click on the text box option to add text. Click on the place where you want to add the text and start typing. Choose the connecting lines from the shapes and connect the block elements. Just like choosing a smart art design and customizing them, you can also customize the flowchart that you created manually. In this video, let us see how to insert PDF into PowerPoint. Adding PDFs to your presentation helps in maintaining your privacy and helps mitigate some unnecessary steps involved to open the PDF file. You do not need to minimize the presentation, locate and open the file. You can directly click on the PDF file and open them. So without further ado, let us see how to insert a PDF into PowerPoint. One of the most common ways to insert PDFs into PowerPoint is by using the Insert main menu. This can insert the whole PDF file as a click button into the PowerPoint slide. First, select the slide where you want to embed the PDF file. Navigate to Insert. Under the Text section, click on Object. This opens up an Insert Object dialog box. Click on Create from File and click Browse. Once you have located the file, click Open. Finally, click OK. This inserts the selected PDF file in the center of the slide. Now, you can move and resize the PDF file icon using the anchor points. You can also add multiple PDFs in the same slide to easily help you open multiple files from a single location. You can double-click on the PDF file in the PowerPoint slide to open and view the original file. Sometimes, PowerPoint throws a pop-up asking you whether the file is safe to open. If you trust the source, click Open. To prevent this dialog box from popping up again, uncheck the Always Ask Before checkbox. The second way to insert a PDF file into PowerPoint is by copying and pasting them into a PowerPoint slide. Navigate to the location of the PDF file. Right-click and copy the file or use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+C. Now open PowerPoint and choose the slide where you want to paste the file. Paste the file by right-clicking and selecting Paste, or use the keyboard shortcut keys Ctrl+V. This will paste the selected file onto the PowerPoint slide. In some cases, you might not need to insert the whole PDF file into the slide. You can just add a part of the PDF file. To add a part of a PDF file, open the file and navigate to the section you want to insert into the slide. Now, immediately open PowerPoint without switching between tabs. Navigate to Insert. Under the Images section, click on Screenshot. From the drop-down, select Screen Clipping. Clicking this option takes you back to the PDF file and it appears as a white transparent screen. Click on the left mouse button and drag the mouse to select the area you want to include in the slide. Once you leave the mouse button, the selected area is automatically inserted into the PowerPoint slide.
Hi, from everyone at Simon Says It. We hope you're enjoying this training lesson. Please like this video to show your support for the channel. If you want to take your learning further, earn a certificate for this course, and gain access to over 200 courses ad-free, click up there and go to simonsaysit.com. Thanks for watching, and back to the course.
When you're delivering a presentation to an audience, you want to make this as easy as possible for yourself. Because as presenters, there's always a lot going on. We're normally standing at the front of an event or maybe in a meeting. We have our laptop in front of us and we have our slides on our laptop and possibly showing on a bigger screen behind us. Not only do we have to engage with our audience, we have to make sure that we're checking our notes and we're delivering those key messages, and ensure that we're advancing our slides at the correct point. Now, one way that you can make this a lot easier on yourself is to use Presenter View, which is an invaluable tool for speakers everywhere. Now, what Presenter View allows you to do is basically see everything that you need to see right there in front of you, whilst only displaying the presentation to your audience. So let's have a quick look at it. Now, if as a presenter, I just quickly load up my presentation, and we're going to say from current slide, notice that all I'm going to see on my laptop is my slideshow. I can't see any notes that I might have attached to this slide, and I also can't see the next slide that's coming up to give me some sense as to where I am in my presentation. So in a sense, when you just run a presentation in this view, in just the normal view, you don't really have a great deal of visibility. Now, this is where Presenter View can really help us out. So whilst we're in our slideshow, and again, I'm just on my first slide, if I right-click my mouse, notice that in the contextual menu, I have an option here to show Presenter View. Now, if we jump into here, take a look at what happens. Now, the great thing about Presenter View is that it just gives you more information. So not only can I see the current slide that the audience is looking at in the middle there, I can also see the next slide that's coming up. And that can be really helpful because it really kind of gives me an idea as to whereabouts I am in my presentation, and I can prepare myself for what I want to say next. Another great thing is that I can see any notes that I have attached to this particular slide. So instead of prior to the presentation going away and printing off all of my notes onto a printer and carrying them to the meeting, I can simply type them underneath the slides as we've seen in previous lessons, and they're right there in front of me all of the time. I don't have to worry about losing my notes somewhere between my office and the meeting. Another thing that's really helpful about Presenter View is if you notice just above the slide, we have a timer running. And this will start running as soon as you load up Presenter View. So you know that if you have just 20 minutes to present these slides, you can see where you're up to and how much time you have left. And you can maybe slow down or quicken the pace accordingly. Now, notice underneath the main slide, we have a number of icons, and these are what we call our in-presentation options, which can really help you interact with your slides in a nice way. And we're going to look at all of those options in the next lesson. For now, we just want to focus on getting used to using or working within Presenter View. Now, to move to the next slide, it's reasonably obvious. If we take a look towards the bottom, it currently says slide 4 of 25, so we can use our arrows to move in between our slides in this way. So I can click and it's going to move me on to the next slide. And of course, I can always use the arrow keys on my keyboard, or I can click my mouse. Now, running across the top of Presenter View, we have 3 other options. The first one here is Show Taskbar. Now notice as soon as I click that, the taskbar appears at the bottom of the screen. So if I need to switch to a different application mid-presentation, having my taskbar makes it a lot easier. Because by default, when you are running a slideshow, whether that be normally or in Presenter View, everything else on your screen is going to be hidden, including your taskbar. So that's just a nice little shortcut way to bring that back up. Your display settings, well, this is really related to if you have 2 monitors. If you do, you can choose to swap between Presenter View and Slideshow View, or you can duplicate the slideshow. And then the final option that we have is simply to end the slideshow. So I could click this button, or I could click the cross all the way over in the right-hand corner, or I can press the escape key on my keyboard, which is going to take me out of Presenter View and load me back into my normal view. So that's how Presenter View works and the types of things that you can see in there. Most of us, when we're delivering a presentation to an audience, will need to have access to our notes. It's very rare that a speaker will just jump up in front of an audience and be able to reel off their entire presentation without referring to any notations that they've made or key points they want to cover. Now, we could go old school and write down our notes on a piece of paper, or maybe we've created a Word document and we've printed them out prior to the session. But we don't actually need to do that because we can incorporate our notes into PowerPoint and then they're always there in front of us on the screen. And the beauty of this, and you'll see this illustrated more clearly when we talk more about using presenter view, is that we can have our presentation and also our notes up on our screen, but the audience won't see the notes part. So it makes this whole process of notes a lot cleaner and simpler. Now let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here because I have mentioned things like presenter view that we're going to cover a bit later. Let's first just start out by taking a look at where we go to add notes into our presentation. Now everything related to notes you're going to find on the View ribbon. Now you can see we have 3 icons that mention notes. In the presentation views we have a notes page. In the master views, we have a notes master, and in the show group, we have notes. And I'm going to start with this one just here. Now, if we take a look at the screen tip, it says add speaker notes to your slides for quick reference during a presentation. The pane will appear below the current slide in normal and outline presentation views and next to the current slide in presenter view. Now, what you'll notice is that when I click on this button, we get a little notes pane pop up underneath the slide. And this notes pane is customizable. We can make this bigger simply by dragging it up. And this gives us a nice area where we can type in any notes or key points that we want to speak about whilst this slide is showing to our audience on the screen. So I'm just going to type in a few notes. So I've just typed in a few key points that I want to mention when this slide is up on the screen. And the cool thing about this notes pane is that you can apply formatting in here as well. So I might want to add a quick title here that just says Slide 1, Welcome Message, just to remind myself. And if I want to make this title bold, I can simply select it, Control B, to make that stand out a little bit more. So we can use formatting within this notes pane to make our text a little bit easier to read. Now, if we click on the Notes button again on the View tab, it's going to hide that notes pane. Click it once again to bring your notes back. And if we jump across to the Presentation Views group, where we have Notes page, if we click this, this is what your presentation is going to look like if you were to print it out. So we get a copy of the actual slide, and then we have our notes underneath. So if you wanted to, you could print out your entire presentation with all of the notes and use that instead. Now we're going to switch back to normal view, and just a quick note about printing whilst we're on the topic. If I did want to print out my entire presentation and I also wanted to print out my notes, when we jump into print, keyboard shortcut Control P, or alternatively you can go to File and Print. We have an option here under Settings to print all slides, but we can choose to print the notes pages as well. So in order to print out your notes, you need to make sure that you are selecting that notes pages option. Now, as I mentioned, there isn't really a need these days to waste paper and print out all of your slides and all of your notes, because if you use presenter view, you can view your notes on the screen and your audience can't see them. Now, we're going to leave that for the time being, and we'll discuss it more when we talk about presenter view. In the next lesson, I'm going to show you how you can use the Notes Master to really customize the look and feel of your notes and make universal changes, much like we do when we're using the Slide Master. One of the newer features available in PowerPoint is the ability to record and narrate your presentations. So this is particularly useful if you're going to email your presentation to somebody else, because it allows them to get a sense of the speaker actually being there, as opposed to sitting in a room and viewing the presentation and your speech. This is also a really good option to use for things like what I'm doing now, so training recordings. If you want to show somebody how to do something in PowerPoint, you could very easily record and narrate a short training tutorial, kind of like what I'm doing here. And all of this functionality is available without having to use any external systems. You can do it all in PowerPoint. You can even choose to show yourself in the recording if you want to. And of course, that relies on you having a webcam installed on your PC. So let's take a look at how this works. Now you'll find this option up on the slideshow ribbon. In the setup group, we have a record drop-down. And you can choose where you want to start recording from. So do you want to start recording from the current slide or from the beginning? Now, I don't want to start from the beginning because I have my custom intro in there. So I want to start recording and narrating from the title slide. So I need to make sure I'm clicked here first of all, and then I can choose from current slide. Now notice as soon as I do that, it jumps me into my presentation. And also notice you can see down in the corner that I've got my webcam turned on, so you can get a webcam view of what I'm doing. So currently you're getting to experience my working from home look. And let's face it, that's not particularly pretty, so let's turn off the camera. Notice underneath we can turn off the camera preview, and that is much better. So it's entirely up to you whether you want to have your camera on or off, and we can also turn our microphone on and off from here as well. But I'm going to assume that if you want to narrate this PowerPoint presentation, you're going to want to make sure that you have your microphone turned on. Now to check your settings for your microphone and your webcam, we have a settings drop down at the top here, and you'll be able to see here if you have an external microphone plugged in, you'll be able to see that, and also you can choose your webcam from the list as well. So make sure you have those set up correctly. Now it's worth noting that we're not actually recording at the moment. If you cast your eyes over to the left-hand side of the screen, we have our recorder buttons: record, stop, and replay. So nothing's recording at the moment until I click the record button. Now another thing that's really useful, particularly when you're narrating slides, is at the top here we have access to any notes that we have in our slide. And you can see that I do have some notes for this slide, and I can scroll through those notes, which makes it a lot easier for me to narrate. You can also use your arrow keys if you prefer to move down in that way. Sometimes you feel like you have a little bit more control using your keyboard. And then running across the bottom, we just have our annotation tool. So if we want to highlight something with a laser pointer, we have that. We have an eraser tool to get rid of any annotations. We have our pen tool so we can make annotations. We have our highlighter tool. Everything that we basically had in presenter view, we also have in here. Now I'm going to erase all of the annotations that I've made. So we're starting with a clean presentation. Another thing to note at the top here is that we can make the text larger of our notes. So you can see if I click, I can make that a bit larger, or I can make it even smaller. And I can use the arrows to navigate through my slide deck, or of course I can just use my arrow keys as well. So when we're ready to start recording and narrating, and I'm just going to narrate this first slide because it's the only one that I have any notes for, we can simply click the big old record button in the top left-hand corner. Notice the keyboard shortcut there to start the recording is simply R. So I'm going to start recording and I'm going to read through my notes. Hello everyone and welcome to Secret Adventures. My name is Deb Ashby and I'm the marketing manager for Secret Adventures, and I am thrilled to showcase a selection of brand new trips for you today. You'll find a brochure on your chair, so please feel free to take this away with you. Once you've finished your narration, you can simply click on the stop button in the top corner, and then when you close down this view, notice that on this first slide in the bottom corner, we have this audio icon which will play the narration for our slides. Now, these days, where teams can be spread across different offices and different parts of the world, it's really important to be able to share presentations and other types of documents efficiently. And in the olden days, the only way to really share a PowerPoint presentation was to attach it to an email and send it out to a distribution list, for example. Now, that wasn't the most efficient way of working. Because when you send out a presentation as an attachment in an email, which it's worth noting you can still do that if you really want to, remember you're sending a copy of that presentation. So any changes that your colleague makes to that presentation once they've opened it from the attachment won't be saved back to the original. If they do make changes, they'd have to reattach it to an email, send it back to you, and then you'd have to resave that file as a new version or over the top of the original to incorporate those changes. Now we have a much more efficient way of working when it comes to sharing. So if I want to share this presentation with some colleagues, I have a couple of different ways I can go about this. In the top right-hand corner, we have a share button. Now, if I click this, it's going to open up a pane on the right-hand side where I can invite people. Now, if I'm sharing this with colleagues within my organization where we're all on the same network, I can simply start to type in their name and it will pull up a list of them underneath and I can go through and select their names. If you're sharing with colleagues who are outside of your network, then you'll need to type in their full email address. And remember, over on the right-hand side, we have access to our Outlook contacts from here as well. So you can just go in, select your address book, and then choose your colleagues from here. Once I have a list of invitees, I can then choose the level of access that I want to give them to this presentation. So do I want them to be able to edit or only view? Well, I'm happy for them to edit, and then I can add in a message. Once I'm happy with my settings, I can simply click on the share button. And what this will do is it will send an email out with a link back to this presentation. So when they click on the link, they're working on the original presentation, not a copy. Now, before we click on share, I just want to highlight another option that we have in this pane right at the bottom, and that is get a sharing link. Now, this differs from what we were just looking at in that from here, we can generate either an edit link or a view only link. So if I want to create an edit link, which means they're able to edit this document, I can click and it's going to give me this link. I can then copy the link and I can either paste that into an email or maybe into something like Teams, SharePoint, or another collaboration app. Now, sometimes using a sharing link as opposed to inviting everybody individually is a lot more efficient. It really depends on how many people you want to share this presentation with. So in general, my rule is that if I'm sharing this with less than 5 people, it's reasonably straightforward for me to just invite them from here. If I want to send it to the entire company or a larger group of people, I'll normally get a sharing link and then paste that into an Outlook email, and I can then use an Outlook distribution list to send that out. Now let's click on share. As soon as I do that, it's going to generate that email and send it off to myself and Jen. And you can see it's added both of these people underneath. So I can see from here also who I've shared this document with. And I can also see what level of permission they have. If I decide at any stage that I want to change, for example, Jen's access from can edit to can view, I can simply right-click on her name and notice I can remove her entirely if I want to take away her access, or I can change her permission to can view. So really nice and straightforward. The other way that we can share a presentation is through the File menu. We have a share page just here as well, and 3 options. The first one is share with people, and this is going to just reopen that same pane. The other options that we have in here are send an email. So as I said, you can still attach presentations to emails if that's what you prefer. But remember, when you send as an attachment, it's going to be a copy that you're sending. Now, notice here, I'm getting a message that says this presentation is too large to be sent as an email attachment. And that's because this presentation contains a lot of media. So if your presentation is too large, you could either maybe try and zip it to compress it, or you could consider saving it to a cloud location. So maybe something like Google Drive or OneDrive and sharing it through there instead. But for very small presentations, you can still do things like send them as attachments. You could also send a link So this is just going to send a link out to this presentation, which is very similar to the link we generated previously. We could even, at this stage, convert this presentation to a PDF and send that, an XPS, which is basically Microsoft's version of PDF, or we could send as an internet fax. The final option we have is to present online. Now, this option actually isn't available in PowerPoint 2021. You can see there the button is grayed out. This option does require you to have a subscription to Microsoft 365. So those are all of the different methods that you can use to share a presentation. If you're working on a presentation that's particularly sensitive in nature, it might be that you want to control who has access to this presentation. And there are numerous different ways that we can protect presentations in PowerPoint. So let's explore some of them. Now, if we jump back up to the File tab and go to the Info page, notice in the middle here we have a big old button that says Protect Presentation. If we click this drop down, we have numerous different options. So the first one here is to always open this file in Read Only. And Read Only really only protects against accidental changes. So somebody leaning on their keyboard or maybe dropping something on their keyboard and making a change to the presentation. If I was to set this to always open Read Only, let's close this down and reopen it. So I'm going to go to Close. Let's click on Save. And it's this one just here. So now when I reopen it, notice that we get this yellow bar at the top telling us that this file has been set to read only. Now, the reason why this isn't a particularly good protection option is because all we need to do here to edit it is click on the Edit Anyway button. Before clicking on this button, I can't actually make any changes to this presentation. So I'm tapping on the keyboard here, but nothing's happening. So it kind of protects against accidental changes, but doesn't really offer too much protection because we can just click on Edit Anyway. But that is one option that you have. Let's go back into Info, and I'm going to turn off Read Only, and let's take a look at our second option. Now this one offers a lot more protection, and that is Encrypt with Password. So if we set a password on this file, it means that only people who have this password are going to be able to open it. So let's add a password and click on OK. We need to re-enter to confirm that password. And now if we close this down and reopen it, notice it's going to ask me for that password. So I need to type this in before it's going to let me into that presentation. So that's a really good way to protect it. Now, if you want to remove the password, again, you just have to go back into Info, click on Protect Presentation and choose Encrypt with Password again. And we just remove the password from here. Now, the next option we have here is Restrict Access, but this requires us to connect to the rights management servers. And on the copy of PowerPoint that I'm using, my machine isn't set up for this. But if yours is at your organization, you can restrict specific access for specific people in this way. The final two options are Digital Signature and Mark as Final. Now, in order to add a digital signature, you need to have signed up for some kind of digital signature service. And in my experience, most of these services do cost a little bit of money, so it's entirely up to you if you want to do that. But you could protect your presentation with a signature. Now, the final option we have here is Mark as Final. And what this basically does is it lets the readers know that this presentation is the final version and they probably shouldn't make any more changes to it. So if we say Mark as Final, let's click on OK. Notice we get this message, this document has been marked as final to indicate that editing is complete and this is the final version. When a document is marked as final, the status property is set to final and typing, editing commands and proofing marks are turned off. You can recognize that a document is marked as final when the Mark as Final icon displays in the status bar. So let's click on OK. Notice in the status bar at the bottom, we have marked as final. Notice we have this yellow bar at the top, which tells us that this is the final version and no further edits should be made. And this really, again, a bit like read only, is simply there to discourage people from making any further changes. They can simply click on the Edit Anyway button and make their changes anyway. Also notice if we go back to File and into Info and click on Show All Properties, the status field here has been changed to Final. Now I'm going to remove this. Let's go back in, mark as Final, and we should find that we're back to normal now. So those are all the options you have within PowerPoint to protect and control access to your PowerPoint presentation. Another thing you can do with your presentation, which can be really useful, is export it out to a different file type. Remember, when you create a presentation, by default, you're going to create a .pptx file. And that just tells File Manager which application it needs to open in order to load up this file. So in this case, PowerPoint. And a .pptx file is the standard file type that we'll use for most of the files that we create. This extension allows us to add new slides, make changes, and run our presentation. But there are other file formats which can be useful. Now, if we jump up to the File tab, notice that we have a section here related to our export options. And we have quite a few different ways that we can export this presentation. Now, the first one here is we could export it to a PDF or an XPS document. Now, if you're wondering what an XPS document is, that's basically Microsoft's version of a PDF file. Now, most of us are used to using PDFs these days. One of the main advantages of a PDF is that it prevents people from easily editing your presentation. And in general, PDFs will preserve the layout, the formatting, the fonts, and the images. So as you see your presentation is exactly how it will look when we export it out to a PDF. So I could jump in here and say I want to create a PDF file. So I'm going to save it into the course files folder. Notice the file extension has changed to PDF, and all we need to do here is click on Publish. Now, this is quite a large presentation in size, so this can take a few seconds. But once it's done, it's going to open up the PDF version of your presentation. So this looks pretty good. We could then maybe decide to email this and feel confident that nobody that we send this to can edit it. One thing to be aware of, though, is if you've spent time applying lots of nice animations and transitions, they're obviously not going to play in a PDF file. Now, another thing we could do is we could create a video from our PowerPoint presentation, and this can look really nice. Now, if we just read the information at the top here, it says export your presentation as a video that you can share with others. And when you do this, it is going to include all recorded timings, narrations, any ink strokes or annotations that you've made, and it will also preserve animations, transitions, and media. So this is essentially going to create a really nice looking video. And we have a few different options here as to how we want to produce this video. So what level of quality do we want, with Ultra HD being the top quality? Now remember, the higher the quality, the larger the file is going to be. So depending on how you intend on sharing this with others, that might influence which one of these you select. And I will say for this type of thing, you could probably get away with HD here. So this will produce a file that's of medium file size and moderate quality. I find that for a lot of things, this quality is good enough, but this is entirely up to you. You can also then decide what you actually want to include in your video. So if you do have things like recorded timings and maybe narrations, you can choose to record those, or if you want to remove those timings and any narrations and just use the default settings, you can specify that at this stage as well. Now, if I was to choose this first option just here, I could then specify underneath how much time we want to spend on each slide. Once you've set up these settings, just click the Create Video button. Once again, it's going to ask us to save. Note the file extension this time is a .mp4 file. We're going to click on Save. And if you take a look down in my status bar, you can see that it's creating this video. And again, because I've got quite a lot of images and media contained within this presentation, this is probably going to take a few seconds. Once the MP4 has saved, you can then just reopen it and it will run in a video format. let's jump back up to File because we have a few more export options in here. We could choose to create an animated GIF. Now, I don't think that's particularly appropriate for the kind of presentation that we have, but if you wanted to make an animated GIF, you could do that from here. Again, all you need to do is specify the quality, if you want the background transparent or not, how many slides you want to include in your GIF, and how many seconds to spend on each slide. Now, the next option I always think feels just a little bit old school, package presentation for CD. Now, in general, I think these days most people would prefer to maybe upload to the cloud so that they can share with others, but this option can be useful if you need to send this presentation to somebody who maybe doesn't have PowerPoint on their PC. So if we click on Package for CD, we can give the CD a name, we select our presentation, and then we can choose Copy to CD. Now, obviously, this relies on you having a CD drive, either one that's built into your computer or an external CD drive connected. So make sure you have that connected before you click on Copy to CD. So just be aware that you do still have that export option. The next option is to create handouts. And this is going to create handouts in Microsoft Word. So you can see here it says put slides and notes into a Word document. Now, one of the advantages of creating handouts in this way is that you then have all of the editing options available in Word, which is more of a text-based application. We can choose the layout of our handout. So do we want 2 slides per page and then the notes next to the slide? Do we just want blank lines next to the slide? So this can be quite helpful to give to your participants because they might want to make their own notes next to each slide. Do we want notes below, blank lines below, or do we just want an outline only? Now I'm going to say blank lines next to slides and click on OK. And then what you end up with is a Word document where you can see the thumbnail of the slide and blank lines down the side. So these can be really nice to give out to your participants so that they can make their own notes throughout the presentation. So a nice little option there. And then the final export option we have is simply to change the file type. And we can see some of the most popular file types you might want to change this to in this area just here. So we could change our file type to a .ppsx file. And this means that when they open this file, it's automatically going to open in slideshow view as opposed to editing view. We could save as an older version of PowerPoint. So if you know that you're sending this to somebody who has a much older version of PowerPoint, you want to make sure it's compatible by saving it as the correct file type. We could save this as a template or even as an image file. So maybe a PNG or a JPG. And all we would do here is select the file type. So I'm going to go for a .ppsx, click on Save As, and then choose a location to save this to. So I'm going to save it to the course files folder. Let's click on Save. So now if I open this file from File Explorer, because this is set to open in slideshow view, we should find that we go straight into the slideshow upon open. And take a look at that. Yes, we do. So we have many ways that we can export this PowerPoint presentation. We're not just stuck with it being a regular .pptx file.
If you're not a subscriber, click down below to subscribe so you get notified about similar videos we upload. To see the full course that this video came from, click over there. And click over there to see more videos from Simon Says It.